Welcome to Business Unveiled Podcast. This is the place where we help overwhelmed, time-starved entrepreneurs like you make the profitable shifts to get more done and get more out of life. I'm your host, Angela Profit, award-winning 8-figure entrepreneur and CEO. And in every episode of Business Unveiled, I'm bringing you conversations that will give you the expertise and strategies that will scale your team and business so you can get shit done. That's GSD in our world. So get your time back and grow a business that helps you be present in your life. Let's do this, y'all. And today I'm so excited to talk to our guest because he's an artist, and like many of us, we're creatives, and his art it's so fun and it's so cool and it's so beautiful. But when doing art, you can take yourself through this journey, which is exactly what our guest does today. And so I'm going to share a little bit about that. I can't wait for you to share your experiences and your journey in telling the story through like the stroke of a brush, which I absolutely love. So Cbabi, welcome to the show today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Miss Angela.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah,
Before we jump off and start talking about journey and life and all the stuff, have you always been an artist? And just share your backstory with us. How have you gotten to where you are today?
I've been at this for 27 years professionally. So I came out of college, and I mean, we'll get into different parts of it, but for the most part, yeah, this has been what I've wanted to do, and I've had to figure it out along the way because it's a very strange walk of life, especially before the internet and all that. There was literally no blueprint on what it looked like to be a living, non-starving artist. So made some points to not forget that, yeah, I've been driven by the whole concept of being a starving artist. That used to drive me crazy to be called that, but that's just kind of been my drive. But I real quick timeline. If you do dot to dot, I graduated from college. I went right back to my trailer. I drew portraits for a year down in Grambling. Then I got a mural job in St. Louis. They gave me the deposit. I came back to St. Louis. The mural fell through, but at least I was brought back here. I worked at a place called Union Station downtown for a minute, and it was a gallery. And I drew portraits in the area where people walk around. It's kind of like a mall destination, touristy spot. And the guy downstairs was doing caricatures. He saw me drawing portraits. He's like, "You should come to Six Flags. The season's starting. You'd probably be dope as a caricature artist." I said, "Okay." Gallery's about to close, so I went to Six Flags. I was already 22, which when working at Six Flags feels like 80 because everybody else there is like 13, 14. And even though we were independent contractors, but it was my first time doing caricatures, so it wasn't that good. And we only got paid on commission if people liked it. So after having people walk away and just the sweat and kids laying on you, I knew the year was it. And so I taught myself how to do caricatures at home on canvas. And because of connections I had at the college I was at, I saw that the guy who was the editor of the newspaper that I did drawings for while in college was now the editor of Rap Pages magazine. So I created a portfolio, sent it, got the job for a year doing monthly, and then this guy named Chris Lighty, who, rest in peace, he used to manage Busta Rhymes and Missy Elliott, called me up, like, "I want you to do our Violator compilation album." And I was like, okay. Now here we are 20 years later, it's like an iconic album. And, at the time it was just a job, and then I did that job. This group called Phil Mob saw that, and they're like, "Man, we need this guy." So I did another one that became an iconic album. So it's like, I didn't have business mind, but had some angels, and they were just like, "Let's just give them these dope ass little jobs along the way that'll just set them up." And then, here we are 27 years later. Let's say 17 years later, I decided to do a project 365 Days with Dad. And that probably literally changed everything for me as an artist. where I can finally, in some kind of way, say I'm an artist, but I'm also a businessman. I got a team, and got a system. So I'm falling in that world. So I listen to y'all a little bit. On the know your capacity, and so sometimes I'm like blowing my mind, but I was like, okay, I think of these things. I just don't know I think of them. So yeah. So, but now, as an artist, like we were talking earlier, there was no blueprint before. But now online, you got funnels and all this other stuff. Like, I can show you how to be an artist and how to make money. And I'm like, it's like, this stuff's whack. And it's like, come on, man. Like,
You're like, sign me up.
Right.
But that's so neat. Like, what I have noticed, even recently, like in the past, I would say 6 months, some of the events that I've been to, even corporate events and some weddings, that's like the thing, is to hire someone to like come and draw a character. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I was at a corporate event and they had 4 different artists there. And then I'm like, this should come out really funny because this is at like midnight, at like maybe 1 a.m.
Folks are
And
drunk.
people have been drinking a little bit. So I'm like, is this
Right.
going to be the drunker version of this
Yes.
person? But it was really neat. And it actually like captivated an audience, and people like came around and like watched him do it. And it was just, I don't know, it was very entertaining. It was it was almost entertainment rather than, someone just sitting there like drawing someone's head. It was fun.
It's a performance. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's
Yeah.
a girl that we work with, like she'll come and she'll ask the client, like, do you want me to paint something super specific, or do you just want me to take in the story and like come up with the story? And 90% of the clients, like, that's what they do. But it's so cool because it's unique, to that person or that wedding or that event. And there's just some really cool things with art. So I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on NFTs as an artist? Like, are you doing it? Are you registering your shit? Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't know if it got stronger with COVID, but I was getting hammered by people about this. And I'm usually leery about, getting caught up in something that's so like in your face and so aggressive. And so I still don't understand it. I mean, I hear what people say it is and all that, but mentally, I just still don't get it. But I do have somebody who's working on a page for me on OpenSeas, and so yeah, we're thinking about putting stuff out there. But it's like, I hear all the money that's being made, but then I go on myself and I look up artists, and I'm like, I'm not seeing there. It's almost like everything else. I fell into the network marketing for, that caught me up for a second. And I see the formula. Like, you show the few who are doing great, but there's millions who aren't doing nothing. And so I'm almost seeing the same thing in NFTs. Like, I could jump into it, but will I be one of the breakthrough, or will I be one of those who put it on there and just forget about it, and every now and then find out, oh, you sold something? Like, I don't know. I know it's all a gamble. It's all a risk, but I do think about, if I'm going to do it, how do I do it? How do I approach it? Because I don't want to just put everything up on there. I've learned that, because just like NFTs early in my career, I wanted to be the artist that did everything. I wanted to do a little pencil drawing. I want to do painting. I want to do sculpture. And my dream was, when you come into the show, it looks like there's a million artists. And then I come out and say, hey, y'all, it's all me. Like, then I learned, like, through the art fair world, like, no, that's not what you do. You need to have a series. You need to have a style. Like, people need to see some consistency. And so now I'm thinking about, how do I approach this? Because I have some brands that we want to get into. Do I offer them up as NFTs? Would that hurt me in my long game, or do I create something just for that world? Because I do draw on my tablet also, so I could do that. I have the ability. So that's where I am right now. Like, how do I approach it? Because I don't want to just jump into it. I want to come into it in a smart way that works for me.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's new, but it's interesting. I listen to a lot of Gary V, and he really teaches hard
Yes,
about
yes.
NFTs and cryptocurrency. In fact, that's how I even got into cryptocurrency, because you had to have a crypto wallet in order to buy an NFT for his marketing conference. So it's
Oh
like
wow.
a
Okay.
barrier to entry. And it's like, I thought of it as like a token, or like a concert ticket, like going into back in the day when we had like paper tickets, and, then it went to QR codes. And so it's really the fascinating part as for artists is that things people can't really copy your work, or they can't replicate it. So from a security perspective, it's just, at least, I'm regurgitating what he's saying, very high level. But we've even had clients ask about creating their own NFT as like an invitation to get into an investor event, because they want it to be
Wow.
the barrier of entry. If you don't have a crypto wallet and cryptocurrency, then you can't really participate in these types of events. And so it is very niche and like very specific, so that not everybody can come into it. At least that's been my experience. But it's really fascinating. And I could not agree with you more, where it's like those of us who fell into network marketing. I went to a conference, 15 years ago or something, when Infusionsoft and funnels and all that came out. And then, a lot of people do just quit. But as we know, yes, you can build $1 million funnels. It doesn't happen overnight. In fact, it's taken years and years and years of relaunching things. And most
Yes.
people just give up. But
Yeah.
you're exactly right. Like the people that stand up on the stage at ClickFunnels and some of these other places, and they're like, I built this and this. And I'm like, and can you back up and tell us how much money have you invested to,
Yes.
okay, you made six figures on that webinar, but what was your overhead and what was your ROI after you did all the stuff? It's just like, tell
That's
the
true.
backstory, because
Absolutely.
shit's not easy. I mean, and it's another thing, but at least you're staying in front of it. So I know that as an artist, like you probably get asked to do a million different things. And
Yes.
especially when you start to work with people in the public eye. And I love Busta Rhymes and I love Missy. Like those were my people. Like I love hip hop back in the day, like when I was in high school and college. I mean, they're still cool to me. But it's like people start coming out of the woodworks. And the more you become known like for your art, the more they keep coming, and then people just keep asking and grabbing, and everybody wants something from you, usually. At least that's been my experience. But do you have a specific way, like how do you filter all that work? How do you say yes, that it's a great thing, or like no, this isn't for me? Or do you have a hard time saying no? I'm just wondering.
Ooh. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I've had a hard time saying no. Because for a while I was doing this by myself. Um, I mean, I was married, but as far as the art side, I was doing that on my own. And after I was separated, yeah, I mean, all I had was art, and literally my motive. Yeah, people would call me or email me. There was really, literally almost anything I'd say yes to when it came to art, whether it be doing a portrait. The murals are really new, only last 3 or 4 years. Designing a tattoo, um, being a caricature artist at somebody's party, live painting, and some of the points that you said earlier, because I was thinking as you were talking, even the most recent thing with the funnels and the business, I think what I got from being in network marketing is, yeah, long game. Like this is 27 years, like, and it's probably the best consistent has been the last 3 or 4, but I've been committed to like, I can just do this. This is what I can do as an artist. But now where I am now, like you're saying, a lot of people know me. So I want to do it all, but I'm blessed to have a fiance who is also she manages my career. And so she's like, look, you've been doing this 27 years. People love you. You don't charge enough. And so even now, I cringe at the prices that she charges people, but they say yes. So I'm like, okay, just back up. But also, what that does is, if I was going to do 100 things at this price, and now she gets me this price for 1 or 2 jobs, she's like, you've painted today for 6 hours. Go home and sit down and watch TV, hang out with your kids, or take a walk. Where I'm like, I got paintings at home. Like, I just want, I've did this work today. I'm gonna go do my own. So I have a hard time saying no. So now I have her as a filter. So I've learned to, even because a lot of my murals are in schools. And so even like the past 3 days, I was at a grade school working on a mural. And it just happens. I'm painting on a wall. So parent after parent or teacher after teacher, what? That'd be great in my kid's room. Can you come in that?
Uh-huh.
I don't paint people's houses. That just became my answer. Like, because I had to come up with something. Either way, because I felt bad about how much I charge for what I do, and I feel bad prejudging. Like, you don't want to know how much I'm charging for this. Like, because I would even test a few people. Like, I would just say they started at $2,000, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, I ain't just started doing this. Like, this is,
No.
I do this in 3 days now, but 27 years I've learned when I'm painting, so I can do it fast. I'm efficient, but that doesn't mean it's going to be cheap for you. So, and I don't want to have that long talk with anybody. So I don't paint. I don't paint inside people's houses. I don't do bedrooms. And they're like, oh, really? But my brain, business wise, I'm like, I need decals or something. Like, because people keep saying this and creating these characters. So I was like, there's an opportunity here. Like, I could say no to you now, but I might have something for you later. I've learned not to tell them that, because that used to be my MO too. Like, are you gonna do portraits one day? Oh yeah, I'm about to start series. Can you do some linographs? Yeah, I'm gonna start that tomorrow. Like, because I would get excited about their hype, but then after I said it and they walk away, I'm like, what did I just do to myself? So I've learned to dial back, and for the most part right now, I'm just doing murals. I'm just doing a few portraits. No more tattoo designs. No painting live at parties, because I also want my paintings to be seen in a certain light. And so if I keep on taking them here and setting up a table and putting my paintings on easels, that doesn't look like 10, 15, $20,000. That looks like 500 or 1,000. Like, I'm learning to grow into who I am, which is very hard for me, because I feel very connected to the community that buys posters and buys prints, and I love the love that they give me, but I'm like, how do I got to figure out the balance, like, between where I am and where you are, and how we can still be cool, and I can still grow. Like, it's tough.
Well, and something that really helped me and what you're saying is like feeling bad. And so hopefully you don't feel that way anymore. But what helped me is that when I hired like a real business manager to like just help and I get a new mentor every year. And when you sit down and you add up all the time and all the time that you give up when you could be doing other things like with your kids and with your family, and then you look at all the supplies and you look at the things that you do creatively to become inspired and the homework that you do to prepare for something. When you start to track all that, it makes it really effing easy to say no. And so when I got really, really black and white with my numbers, and there wasn't like gray, because I didn't know my numbers. I mean, come on. I didn't even know what net profit and gross profit meant. I had no freaking clue. I didn't go to business school. So, but once my accountant and manager put it up there and they're like, you need to do this many things. First off, they're like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I was like you, yes to everything. I want to help everybody, because it makes us feel good. It brings purpose. But then, they pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed on getting a lot more granular and a lot more focused. And so when we think, especially in the creative world, it's like, we'll just take whatever comes our way. When you actually say it out loud, put it up on the whiteboard and set goals where it's like, okay, we'll do 30 events this year. We'll do 30 speaking gigs. We'll do 30 whatever. So it's like if you did, 10 murals, I'm making this up. But then we had to back ourselves into the numbers. And so when you look at your overhead, and I'm getting like super geeky, which it's not fun, but this is how you legitimately can say to yourself, like, either this is not a good investment of my time or the ROI is not there. And so thinking of your art as, it's one of a kind, especially the murals. Like, you can't go anywhere in the world and see the same thing twice. Usually,
Right.
there's like the coolest murals all over the place. And so, and with the reach of social media and the power of social media, it's almost a little bit more, it's easy in my opinion to like do it. But then what is missing with a lot of art is the strategy of like the business side, and the sales side. But when you really put those numbers up there, which it sounds
Absolutely.
like, with time and with age and with life experience, you just get older and your time gets a lot more precious and a lot more priceless. So at
Absolutely.
least that, so that you can like be present with your family, and that you have to have that person who's like guarding your time and helping you. Otherwise, it's just like you don't feel good saying no all the time. At least I don't.
Right.
So, so how do you approach each project? Like, how do you prepare? What inspires you? Like, how does that work?
So a lot of murals people come to me. Um, they and it's all come. I've never fished for any of them. Like I never advertised. I just did the first one and use Instagram, and so people come to me. And so now the filter it comes with before we get all emotionally attached.
Yep.
You know, you know, I'll just say her name, Amber. She sends people, she requests the size of the wall, what they're looking for, sends them a quote, and after they say yes, okay, then we'll set up a call and we'll talk. And, well, of course, now we do Zoom. And so we'll just discuss what they're looking for, or I'll go to the wall and then we'll talk. But a lot of times, it's all the murals have been usually about, especially the schools, have been about representation. I love painting kids, love children's books, so I mean it's easy. It's just you have to be a little bit more considerate of details. Whether somebody's impaired in some way, or different skin colors need to be on the wall. Something specific as music or art, like all these things. So I usually get really excited about it. Um, the hard part is I don't get excited about sketching it, and so
Okay.
that's one struggle. Once I get to the wall, I'm good. But as far as getting up to it, I'm working on trying to sketch weeks in advance, which is fine and all. But usually, once I get to the wall, I throw all that out the door and just change it. Which I'm trying not to do as much. But I'm in a space now where I've been doing so much, people trust me, and so usually, yeah, I see them come through my email, but I don't respond because me and Amber get it. So I'll see jobs. I'm like, and sometimes I'll text her like, yes. She's like, hold up, let me see if they got the money. And like, I was like, Amber, this is, because in my brain, I'm like, okay, I see what they want to charge or what they can afford. It's like I can do that in a day or two. She's like, it is a day or two. She's like, but she keeps, I don't know if she got this on your podcast, but she keeps on saying, every time you say yes, what are you saying no to? And I'm like, oh, I was like, I know, okay. I was like, I'm not going to get emotionally attached, because I'll get emotionally attached to all of it, because you know how they get me. They're like, God, I
Mm-hmm.
followed you forever. I
Mm-hmm.
love your work. And one person laid on me, like I had a dream, and you were the only person that could do this. And I was just like, how did I say no to that?
Right.
So
You
I've
don't
learned,
look at your email. Stop looking, because we are so similar. And it's
yes,
like, but when it's like, I try to stay in my lane. And then, all my team members, like they stay in their lane. But then when I'm like super busy and like, we calendar block everything. And so whatever my calendar says, that's what I'm 100% present for. And there's a lot of days where there's no time. It doesn't allow for me to like go look. I couldn't tell you last time I looked at an email. I
yeah,
mean, I do for my team, but it's like if you just emotionally, because it takes up energy, like in your heart, in your head, you think about it. And then, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like it's emotionally, and you want to help everybody, and you can help them. But that's where, not that it's even selfish to think about your time and think about yourself. When we're young in business, we don't know. You don't know.
right.
You have to feel the pain and feel the hurt of being frankly, like kind of mistreated and talked down to. And you kind of have to experience that and feel that feeling before you're like, okay, I need to start saying no sometimes because not everyone's
Yeah.
a good fit.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And
it's
the
just,
business piece is interesting though. When you mention that, because honestly, it's taken me a long time to look at it like that. Because it's still, even though the internet makes it look like there are a lot of us, it's still very rare to find somebody who does art full time. Like that's it. Because even I have people who I'll have studios near, and they'll say they're like, "You do this for a living?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "This is all you do?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is all I do, man. I'm making money on it." They're like, "Wow!" Like I don't know how. I mean, it's still very rare. Like it's a weird thing because it's not really unlike anybody else's business, but I had to get over the fact that I'm painting things that nobody's asked for yet. I'm creating things like I have to have a body of work that nobody even knows exists yet, and then present it, and then there's no guaranteed sale of that. So, just like musicians, what it's such a weird thing, you know, that even in my brain, knowing this probably helped when people want to give me money. I take it because it's like I'm creating these things I don't know I'm getting money from, but you're definitely going to give me $100 or you're going to give me 200 or 1,000. Like I can't say no because it's I know what it's felt like to not have my bill paid and like I should have took that $100 like that would have took care of this but now I'm coming in a space of trust and faith and knowing that what I'm putting out is coming back. I'm getting better at saying no and slowing down, not being so emotional by buying paint and buying canvas because that's where I used to be like, oh, I'll buy 100 canvases because this series is gonna be dope. Like, hold up, one, you can't paint all of them at the same time, so just buy two, work on
yep.
them, get it. I get a good job and I get a good check. I do go splurge a little bit. I'm getting a little more snobby in my paint choices that cost a little bit more, but the saying no is yeah, we'll get to it. I'm learning now that my purpose and brand are all kind of one. Like, because as we talk about it, nobody knows what it looks like to be an artist like I am. So I have to show. So I have to show that you got to say no. No, just because I can draw doesn't mean I can draw that. I can draw it. But I don't want to draw it because this isn't where I'm headed. This is my. I have a vision, and if that doesn't fall in it, what you're doing is great. There are a lot of other artists, but I'm going this way, and I'm trying to honor that more and more. And the more I do it, what you pour energy to comes back, and it's crazy
That's right.
because I keep putting these murals out, and murals keep coming. And I even talked to talked to Amber, and I was like, I want to sell more paint, and she's like, we haven't really put any energy into selling paintings yet. She's like, I was like, you know what, you're so true. Like people know I paint, but we haven't really stepped into that. So that's something to be addressed. But yeah, the more we just keep doing these murals, I keep getting faster at them so I can have more space to heal my shoulder and take care of my knees. Whereas, I tell her like, I'll finish this one Thursday. I can start a new one on Monday. She's like, no, you can't. She's like, one, you have to sketch for a
Yep.
bunch of other murals coming up, which I hate. I just I
Yeah.
love the performance. I don't love the behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
I'm learning to just let her continue to harness the greatness inside of me and so that allows the nose to feel a little less harsh. But I've learned it's taken me a while because I want to just I don't want to lose that dollar, but now I just tell people like, okay, let me send you, here's the email to send your request to. And also what I learned is, what do you charge? I was like, you know what, I don't handle that anymore. I
That's
just paint.
right.
I
Good
was like,
job. Good job.
even
Good
though I know
job.
what I'm gonna charge back, I was like, Amber handles that. We have a
That's
team, we
right.
have a system. So, if it works out, we'll come back and we'll figure out the details. But, you just send your request here and then see what happens. And they're like, oh, manager now. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're doing, sir.
It is so, I mean, even people that I become friends with, sometimes, we become friends with our clients and they know that even like to schedule anything, like meeting, a dinner, a phone call, like they need to go to Amanda. And it's not, I have one side, my family, they're like, oh, I have to go through Amanda. And I'm like, but now my brother owns a business and he gets it. He's like, oh, I see that when you stop and you have to text back 3 and 4 different times and the back and forth, and it's a
Yes,
distraction. And it's not that I don't want to look at my calendar, and it's not that I don't want to tell you a date I'm available. That is someone's role. And when they don't know the big picture and they're not doing and owning that, it creates miscommunication and it creates problems and it creates, I'm the bottleneck. It's like,
absolutely,
get out of your own way.
absolutely.
But the people who get it, get it. And then the people that, lightweight make fun of me, I'm like, fuck you. You don't understand because you don't know the business. But like, I don't care what they think. And most of those times, those people like weed themselves out of out of our life anyway, because
Yes,
we don't have anything in common. And,
yeah,
if you can't, we can give value all day long, but if you can't get value back, it's like, the tennis ball back and forth. It's two-way street. So I do have a question about murals though. So do you give yourself like creatively, and being a perfectionist, do you give yourself a certain amount of time where it's like, I'll go paint sometimes for 12 hours, or it may take me 25 hours, like depending on creatively? Because I know you have to like get into the mood and the mode. And do you put a time frame on it? I'm just wondering.
most of them I know now, just haven't done them how long they usually take, and I can look at a wall and assume how long it's going to take. So most of them are a week, 2 weeks tops, and I know what I can get done in 6 hours, 8 hours. So I usually like it. A lot of times I'll have shorter days in the beginning, and if I'm getting closer to the deadline and I know I still got a little bit to do, then I'll make the days a little longer. Um, but I've learned that I'm doing this for me also. I'm not just doing it to please the client, because I realize they're business cards, and I tell people that you just, like, because a lot of times I'm halfway through the mural and folks are like, I can't even believe you're almost finished. Yeah, in my brain, I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I still have the patterns and the shading, and I'm glad you love it where it is. Like, but so they're pleased at that point. But for now, from here on, like, I'm doing the rest for me. But I have to, I got to figure out that balance with that too, because somebody, say 8 by 10 foot wall, somebody has 2 grand, somebody has 5 grand. They both can't look the same. The 2 grand one, and I'm even learning that, because I'll say all the time, like, yeah, that's simple. And Amber's like, look, I don't paint, so stop saying simple. It's like, yes, you can do it quickly because you've done it a million times. So some people might get a face that, and a word or two, whereas somebody will get a collage of stuff. The collage of stuff takes longer. People might pay more for that. So I'm learning because I always want to go in and I love performing, I love painting in front of people, so I want to give them, I want to get that wow factor, but I have to dial it back and just realize that, yeah, some of them just can't. So I know I can, like this one I just did took 3 days. It probably could have taken um, 2 longer days, but I allow myself just to do 6 hours so that I could also go home and work a little bit on, some stuff. And we have the podcast, so, like you said, the importance of calendar and scheduling and filter and all that. Like, I'm learning that, because I had to go to the mural, and because I could have done this yesterday, varnish it, but I said, oh, today I got the podcast this afternoon and it takes 30 minutes. I'll go there, roll it, and go home and chill. Like, I'm done. And then on to the next. So I've learned to, yeah, just take a little dose here and there, because I love it so much that, yeah, I could be there from time the sun comes up to the time the sun goes down. Especially if we're outside and I'm doing like a mural festival and there's a bunch of artists, like, to drive away from that, like, it's like, oh, like, my people are here, like, and it's like, no, go home, sleep, come back tomorrow, and because I work very fast because one, I just do, just my style allows me to work really fast, and I've been blessed to have people like my style. So it's a win-win for me. So I'm learning to, yeah, pace myself a little bit more.
It's so cool. Like, and something for me, like the whole BTS, like the whole behind the scenes of like prepping and like I know exactly what you mean. It's not like the fun part at all. The rewarding and glorious part is like when you're done and you reveal it, and it's like everybody's just like, oh my gosh. But over the last few years, like when stories came out, I'd never got into Snapchat, but I'm like, if it disappears, I ain't doing it. And then my brand manager's like, you're being stupid. It creates FOMO. I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, fear of missing out. And I'm like, oh. So then, I listened to them. I mean, they're doing their jobs. And thank God that I did, because now it's like I don't feel like it's time wasted as much, because I can be very transparent through my story and through social media. I mean, a lot of it, just disappears or it goes into a highlight, but that's what people actually love. They love where I think it's boring. And I'm like, no, I sell perfection. Shit has to be perfect before we put anything out. Like I was so obsessive over being a perfectionist, and it was hurting me more than helping me, because
Mm,
I really didn't show like this shit's hard. And in terms of like creativeness, like I'm not an artist, I don't paint anything, but when I walk into an empty room and someone is like giving me adjectives and the personalities of like their guest, or the feeling they want to create when someone walks into a room and looks at the room, it's like, I just close my eyes and I don't know like what happens in my head creatively, but it's like, then I pump out floor plans and stuff. And creatively and mentally, that takes a lot of energy. It really does.
it does.
And so when we started, we were doing it so much, I was really burnt out and tired of it. And so that's where, putting boundaries and limits. And I said, okay, we will never do more than one a week, ever. And now, like, we've whittled it down to where it's like, okay, I'll do two a month. And then my team takes on a lot of that. It wasn't always like that, but it's the two top tier. And that way I don't get so tired of it or so burnt out, because creativity does take a lot of energy and capacity. So don't discount what you're doing and saying like, oh, I feel bad, or I just love doing it so much. Because I remember when I was like that, when I first started doing events, I'm like, oh, we could do 5 weddings every weekend, and did it. And we did for a long time. And then I'm like, this is crazy.
You're right.
What am I doing? Actually, it wasn't me. It was like my business manager. He was like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Um, but you know that you need to surround yourself with those people, and you know that you give up control and you're like, I'm going to do what I want to do. But the whole time blocking and only doing like a certain thing on a day, it's like one day is a creative day, one day is a GSD day, like today is our podcast day. So it's like when you really start to put them in compartments of like working on the business, not in the business. You hear people say that all the time. It's like, what does
Right.
that really mean? It's like, you put a day on your calendar, like today, where it's like you talk, you network with people. But I don't know if you like time lapse your stuff or do like your behind the scenes things like on your stories and stuff, but on TikTok, oh my gosh, like there are people doing some incredible like artsy things,
Yeah.
and people are loving it. Or do you do that on TikTok or on your stories, or do you go live?
I do stories on my Instagram.
Okay.
I do TikTok some, because even with that, like I'll do the goofy, dances and all that. But I've
Me too. I
learned,
love it.
yeah. But I was like, okay, don't just dance in your bedroom. I was like, put on your outfit and go to the studio and dance in front of your art, like so people see you having fun doing. I've learned to. It's always still branding. I don't want to just be a fun thing. I'm still promoting my business and who I am as a person. Like, yeah, I'm not the stiff guy working. I'm having fun. So, but even hearing that, like, because I love those videos too, and I love. So my brain is thinking. I have to think that that's not just for fun. It's part of this. Like, I've learned that people have bought into me. They haven't
Mm-hmm.
just bought my murals just as is. They bought my transparency, because I go live on Instagram, and like even today I might just this might be one of the days where I just go on live and just talk like something that frustrates me about being an artist and things that we brought up. Um, but yeah, that this stuff is very vital. But you're right, learning to put things like they all matter. Like it's not for naught. Like, but it's hard to think that like because I used to because I used to co-own a restaurant, with my ex-wife, and she still owns it. But I used to, just looking at employees, what they make while they're working, they're trading their time for the dollar, literally. Like that's not what I do. So how do I not think like that and think differently, or without thinking that I'm in of the elite? I'm not of the elite. I'm far from the elite. I'm doing well, as I should, because like you said, put in the time. I've had a lot of years where it wasn't great. So it's kind of balancing out now. So, but no, the stories matter, TikTok matter. For time, I thought about YouTubing, but that's a whole nother beast. Like
It
I don't want the drive of worrying about the likes and I also learned that, I got some successful friends. They don't have that many followers, and they're doing great. So, so I'm learning that so many people walk up to me and say, "Man, I saw you such and such," and in my brain, I'm like, "Yeah, that post didn't do all that high." So I'm like, "Which number were you?" And it's like, no, none of that matters. Like the whole page, the whole body of work as a collective, all this is my opus. It's not just one day I'll get there. Like, no, I'm living the dream. Like it's happening in real time right now. So yeah, if I could take a day off for myself, it's not even a day off. Like I put in some great hours yesterday so that today I can just chill, and then tomorrow I'll get back on it. Like, because you're right, I don't stop. When I'm sitting at home, I'm on Pinterest for 3 or 4 hours, filling up my portfolio of images for when a mural comes. It's like another flower, So yeah, the work never cuts off. I'm watching TV. Oh, did you see what was in the background? And I'll rewind it, take a picture. Like it, yeah, it just never shuts down. It's exhausting. It is
It
exhausting.
is. And but one thing you said earlier that's so important is like you choose what to do, like based on your passion, like what you're
Yeah,
passionate about. And like I've realized that the more you do your passion, and if you have a strategy and you have good people around you, the right people around you, not just good people. People are good, sometimes they're not the right people. Um, the money comes. Like
yeah,
again, you have to have a strategy, you have to have goals. But once all of that is in place, and they're going to change, they change year over year. Sometimes they change every quarter, but it's like what you're passionate about. And a lot of people that I talk with, they're like, "I'm passionate about this, but I'm in banking." And I'm like, "Well, how's that working out for you? Are you happy every day to wake up? Like, you might want to consider exploring some other things." So it's
right,
like you have found that. And so it's like protect that and protect the energy. And it's so awesome that you have found that and you have put the time in and you
yeah.
have worked so hard, towards all of that. So I know that I had asked you what was your number one time suck, and you said TV, and you just brought up TV. What's your favorite show? Like, what do you, and we all need something to turn our mind off,
Right.
right? Like, we really do. But like, what's your favorite? Or do you
I'm a
binge any?
documentary junkie.
Okay.
Like literally, I'm a documentary junkie. Like I've seen the Basquiat Radiant Child documentary 400 times. Like I could easily keep going back to that, and because he was the actual, I could see myself in him, like somebody
Mm-hmm.
who's doing what I do. But beyond that, like I'm just fascinated by real stuff behind stories because um, we only see the surface. So I find it so fascinating to see like what actually happened behind closed doors. Like, and I know it's
Mm-hmm.
still not the whole truth. It's still a movie. It's a documentary, but it still has it still has an agenda, or a story to tell. But yeah, I just like the idea of knowing that folks are just going through stuff. Yeah, sometimes it's dark and sad, but for me, it's just like it's just real. Like, yeah, don't just think that everything's glossy. Like, no, people are going through some drama in the back there. So I'll watch that a lot, and I'll get caught up in these. When if they put a good series up on Netflix, Oh, and it's so bad sometimes that I had to bring my tripod to the mural, and I got my iPad up, and I got the show playing because
Shut up.
I can't. Even if I'm not looking at it, because after 2 or 3 episodes, I know the characters, I know what they're doing, so I can listen, and in my brain I can see what they're doing. I look over now and then if something's crazy, but yeah, it's like I get obsessed. Like so I have some addictive personality. I'm aware of, like so I have to be careful of that. But yeah, if something has like I think Tombstone um, was a show that just had like seven seasons. I watched all those days in like 4 days, man. Like I couldn't turn it off. I was going
Yeah.
crazy. So and I knew this and I felt it, and I was like, don't look up anything else. Just your brain needs to shut off and relax, man. Because I just like, oh, okay, get more, and like, where I'm even on Amazon, like, oh, $1.99 for one more episode. Like, I was like, I just paid $5 more for than I could have got those series for. So yeah, I'm a visual guy. I accept it. I'm a visual guy. I'm just so fascinated what people do with film and all that, and more translates into my work, and so it's all connected. So I don't feel like it's a waste of time, but it's a way to just not physically be doing anything and just sit down, talk smack with my kids, eat peanuts, and just enjoy the screen, man. Like
Yeah. Well, and I mean, everything in moderation, right? So it's like
absolutely,
having the discipline. Like we teach these content creation workshops and teach people, they all want to know how to wash, rinse, repeat their content, like with Instagram Reels and TikTok. And like I go the other way. It's like we started in TikTok and then we use an app to like take all the branding off and then like we'll reuse it on Reels a lot of times.
oh wow, okay,
It's called Tick Save. It's awesome. And
nice,
so it's like you can wash, rinse, repeat your content. Again, you just have to know a little bit of strategy. And then once you know how to do it, you know how to do it. But it's like when I ask people, why aren't you on TikTok? And they're like, oh my God, it's so addicting. I'm like, well, do you watch TV or Netflix series? And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, what do you watch? And they'll tell me. And I'm like, well, instead of watching 4 episodes, you could spend, it's like an 80-20 thing. So it's like if you spend 80% of your time creating the content and educating and showing a peek into what you do consistently, that word's very key. And you said it a few times. Consistency is key. And then if you're not consistent, they're going to go somewhere else. So that's why like you want to be consistent. You want to, it's like, think of the news. Like you don't have to turn it on, but it's there if you want to know what the hell's going on. And
yep.
they're always consistent. And that's why, and then people like the people, there's like 4 different news stations where I am, but usually, like you just said it perfect. You see yourself in some of those people, and that's how you relate to them. And then that's why you make those choices to watch them. But I'm like, if you spend 20% of your time consuming the content and just getting ideas, and for creatives, it's like, I'm like, I watch something sometimes. People that I'm watching something with, they're like, will you just shut up? Like, just let us watch it. And I'm like, but look at that set and look at the lighting. And, it's like, I see things totally differently in movies. And like, I'll have to
Absolutely.
watch it a few times, not in a row. But it's like, if you spend 20% of your time being inspired, which most of us, it's like, I'm sure you are, and you're just inspired by people. You don't really have to watch TV. But then if you spend 80% of the time creating the content and then filming what you're already doing with your phone and a $10 Amazon stand, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not about perfect lighting. It's real life. And I'm glad that we live like in this transparency world now, where it's getting a little bit more transparent with social media, which is why I like TikTok more than any other platform, because it is short form content. It's a little bit easier, although they do keep changing it. I'm like, I don't know how 10-minute TikToks are going to do on TikTok, but
A
we'll
10-minute
see.
TikTok now?
Yep. They went to 3 minutes and now there's some accounts that have
Wow.
10. I don't know, maybe new people coming on will do it, but I'm like, this ain't YouTube people. So
Right.
I don't know, we'll see. But if there's anyone listening that I know it's like you hear the starving artist, which I don't know who came up with that, but it kind of annoys me from a business perspective. But if there's one thing that you could tell people that, because even in weddings and events, like it's very similar to being an artist where a lot of us, it's a passion. You started out as a hobby and then you feel bad charging, money for it. But if there's one thing through all the 27 years that you've been a business owner and doing art and doing other things, like, is there one piece of advice or takeaway that you would tell like a new artist or a new creative or somebody that is just trying to pave their path? And some of these people has nothing to do with age, because there's people that are in their mid 50s that had a full blown ass career, like in healthcare and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they just like did balloons on the side for fun. And now just kind of by accident, it's the thing, it's the rage, it's popular. Murals are popular right now and you have to pivot where your audience goes. But what's that one thing that you would tell your younger self? Like, if I only knew this would have helped me, 20 years ago. Like, is there one thing you would tell yourself?
Everybody's not your audience. And you don't need that many people to be successful,
That's right.
So I find myself saying more and more to folks, like, be careful who you ask if they like it, because the answer you could be on path to doing something that's going to be great for you and community, and somebody might say the thing that doesn't connect with you, and you just throw it out the door. Like, it's just, yeah, if you stick with something and put your energy into it, I truly believe you'll find your tribe. And also, I don't really like the shoulds that much, because you got to be careful of that too, because folks will always come, you should do this because I'm sure then you'll really be great. Like, you already just told me you don't know, so I'm really not listening to that. Like, I know what I like and I know what I'm gonna do, and this is where I'm at. So yeah, I just say, yeah, just be careful, and of who you're trying to seek acceptance for, because
Yep.
that's just where we are. We love those likes. It feels great.
But like you said earlier, like, it's so true, because there's, we look at our analytics and I just look at them monthly, and people will come up to me at conferences and stuff and say like, oh, I really love that. And I'm like, the exact same thing you just said. Well, that didn't perform that well. Then why didn't you hit? But I've learned to just put it out there, and you definitely watch your analytics to see, what people are responding to best.
Yeah.
And people respond to the dances. And I didn't understand why until people started to say, it's a breath of fresh air. Like, it's fun, and you show that you're still having fun, even though sometimes life is stressful and people are rude. Don't let one person ruin your day, much less your week. And there's people around that. I mean, around me, some that tell me that. And they're like, it helps just taking the mind off of it, but also knowing that, we're in the same industry in the creative market, and you can still be happy and do your passion to make money. Like,
Right.
And it hit me. I'm like, people need that outlet sometimes of just, it's okay to have fun and work hard. Work hard, play hard, right?
Yeah, and don't
If
worry about
people
being
wanna-
perfect too. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Even
And
with
it's not
that
the
dancing
numbers.
goofy, like, I'm not showing that I can dance to make money. I'm just having a good time. Right.
Yeah. Just chilling and feeling the vibe. Like, it's
Absolutely.
all good. If people want to connect with you, where's your favorite place to connect?
I'm most active on Instagram, and
Okay.
it's just my first name at Cbabi. And then yes, the TikTok. I'm gonna do a little bit more of those, but those are probably the two platforms I give the most energy to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And like you said, where you show up and put the energy, somebody said where energy goes where it flows, or something like that. I can't remember,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I listen to so many podcasts. But this is awesome. Thank you so much for your time and sharing all of your wisdom. And we'll put all the links in the show notes. So if people want to go, y'all have to go check out his website, like your website and your Instagram. It's so good. Like, it's just fun to look at. Everything that you do is so cool. And I love how you, like, I can tell on your website just from the order and phone view, it says exactly like, and I don't know if this is like strategic or has anything to do with ROI, but it's like, you've got your portraits, your murals, your custom works, your 365 days with dad. And it's like, those are the four things. Like, if it's not If it doesn't fall into those buckets, it's an easy thank you for thinking of me, not now.
Absolutely. That's
No
right.
just means not right now, right?
Absolutely.
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
And if you're watching or listening today, thank you so much for your time. And be sure to go out there in GSD and tune in next week to another episode of Business Unveiled. Bye, y'all.
That's it for this week's episode of Business Unveiled. Now that you have all the tools that you need to conquer the world and GSD, get shit done, would you share this with your friends and fellow business leaders? One thing that would really, really help us and help new listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a comment in Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you tune in and listen to Business Unveiled. You can check out the show notes at angelaprofit.com/podcast and link up with us on social media so you can share your biggest insights. And I want to know your aha moments. Until next week, remember, the profitable shifts and structures you're creating in your business help you be more present in your life. So get out there and GSD.